All right, here we are. It's Saturday, and here we are live out here in, well, I'm in Western Japan. Steve Jobs is somewhere else. I don't. How you doing, Carl? How's your week going?
Let's see. Okay. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you. John just arrived.
Okay.
Oh,
I had YouTube coming in, the other speaker, like 10 seconds delayed. So
okay.
So now I fixed it. So we should be good.
All right, good. Wait a minute, I think I just got a message. Do I need a new link? He says. Okay, let's just go ahead. It looks like it might be you and me here today. I'm going to be a little bit distracted as we talk. And so, anything going on in your life these days that's interesting?
I was doing some work today. That's a good thing. The more work, the better.
Yeah.
What else? Ooh, I forgot it. Like, my sensation of time is sort of like deteriorating. So I know it snowed recently, but I forget whether that was after the last time we met or before. But had fun with the snow, and I'm enjoying that it's gone too.
Yeah. I mean, it was actually quite warm today.
Yeah, I was inside most of the day. Hey, Steve, got a couple of faithful viewers making comments now.
Okay.
So
you want to go ahead? Okay.
Yeah. So okay. Nothing too unique for me. It's kind of same old. How about you, Ed?
Yeah, Wednesday was a big performance day for me. I invited you, but you had something going on, couldn't make it. But just to give you some background, there's a guy in Japan. His name, he calls himself Elvis Toki, and he's an Elvis impersonator. And the first time somebody said, "Let's go see this guy," I said, "Oh, I like Elvis. Okay, cool." And I said, "Where's he from?" And they said, "Japan." And I said, "Well, I don't know about that," And I went to his show, and it was great. I mean, he's good. He sings Elvis music at the original key. Yeah, and he's very dynamic, and he's a very entertaining and a funny guy, and we became like friends over time, and then he and I started talking, and we decided to do a thing together, and that's what we did on Wednesday. He did 2 sets of Elvis, and I did 1 set of country, and it was a whole lot of fun. Yeah.
It's
too bad you couldn't make it.
Yeah, well, let me know a little earlier, and then hopefully next time I can.
Yeah. Actually, it was short notice. It was very short notice.
Yeah. Sure.
Okay. So we had an election, huh?
Yep.
In Japan.
Quite a historical election, I think.
Yeah. What did you think about it?
I guess it went. I mean, you never know until the election happens, right? But talking to other Japanese people, it feels that the consensus was that the LDP was going to win. Obviously, I think few people predicted that they were going to win by the margin that they won. But I mean, now she has the supermajority with LDP only, so 2/3 of the lower house, and with the coalition party, then that's like 3/4, which 3/4 doesn't really mean anything. 2/3 is sort of the maximum that changes the dynamics in the diet, I think. But I think other than changing the constitution, as long as they have agreement within their party, they can do nobody can stop them from doing anything as long as it's in the Constitution.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And I just hope that they do the right thing. That's, always it. I saw a report. Steve Martin, I don't know if I should. Yeah, I'll show his. He made a humorous joke about it, about the youth vote. And I read a report, a post-election report, that said Takaichi had something like 93% or 97% support of the young people's vote. And one guy, go ahead.
I was going to say, I do think that I think the sort of traditional ways that the old people tend to be more conservative and the young people tend to be less conservative is kind of like the way it's always been. But I think that's not necessarily true around the world right now. And in Japan, in this election, I also saw that the sort of the younger they were, the more support there was for the LDP and other conservative leaning parties. So
I wonder if that could be called an anti-boomer vote.
I mean, I don't know about in Japan, but in the States, then there's tension between the boomers, your generation, and then younger generations like, oh, you took all the benefits, then you're like you got free college and now college tuition is super expensive. I don't know if the same kind of dynamic happens in Japan where there's an anti-boomer sentiment. I have no idea.
I'd like to pause to send out a special thanks to Nyanya JP. Oh, thank you so much. It makes our day. It makes our live stream. As I've said before, I just was able to monetize recently, and this kind of thing, since I think my first day of monetization, I made 11 cents. So something like this really makes a blip in the income graph. And thank you so much. It really appreciate it more than you can imagine. Go ahead.
I was gonna say Nyanya also said Happy Valentine's Day. So yes, Valentine's Day. Yeah. Did you get your giri choco from your admirers?
Actually, on Wednesday, I got some chuckle from some of the fans there, and it was nice to have the one lady who always comes and stuff like that. She brought me a small box of Godiva chocolate, and I sat down. I got back from the performance, and I sat down in the kitchen and I ate it. I sat down and ate it all, and like JB here says, good stuff, man. It was good. Nyanya JP, thank you so much. I mean, you don't know how much that means. Okay, all right. Kelvin Mitchell, he's my old friend. He shows up every time from Alabama. Okay, Country College.
Chocolate now is at least the supermarket that I shop at, this chocolate bar is 2.5 times the price it was before the pandemic. So chocolate and coffee seem like among all the things that the price have been going up, those have been going up a lot.
Yeah.
So
well, they said that. Yeah. When I was looking around for some of this the stuff here, we're going to do a Godiva. You want to? I don't know. We're going to do a Godiva. I mean, not Godiva, but a Valentine's Day segment later in the show. And I got some news too about why chocolate is going up so much, or why they say chocolate is going up so much. But I guess there was the chocolate crop failed or something like that. Okay.
Chocolate is originally from Mexico, but I think now obviously there's the brand Ghana. I don't know where chocolate is mostly from these days, but either weather or internal fighting. I've heard for a number of years that chocolate prices are bound to go up. So,
Hmm.
but I don't know.
Yes.
It sounds like you found some details about why specifically now.
Yeah. Yeah. I've got I gathered more information about Valentine's Day than I did about the election.
It's okay.
And another thing that I saw an article. I didn't save the article, so I can't display it. But another article said, though Takaichi's popularity is high, LDP popularity has actually gone down a bit. So this election wasn't an election of the LDP; it was an election of Takaichi. It was all on her own, because of
Yeah,
her.
I saw the same analysis. Well, I mean, if you just think about it, before Takaichi took over from Ishiba, then LDP in the last election there was kind of, I won't say historical low, but they got quite unpopular, and so it seems like it's really flipped. I think you know I think Takaichi has a different fiscal. She's more about spending to alleviate, and lowering taxes, like she's already lowered gasoline taxes and has been talking about lowering consumption tax on food, um, and maybe foreign policy. But it feels like Takaichi is uh, she's planning on doing things as opposed to just sort of managing the situation. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Hold on a minute. Okay. Oh, where did that go? Okay, I'm trying to do something here. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. She's got a lot of ideas, and there was some criticism about saying that some of the promises she was making early on she backed off of later, and some people saying, yeah, she said she was going to do this and do that, but she won't be able to do that in reality,
Mm-hmm.
and all that kind of thing. Oh, sorry about Steve Martin there. I didn't mean to display that. But the already, all right, even though she won such a massive victory, already the critics are out saying, well, she's not going to be able to do it. And they're talking about the problems with the bond market and the Japanese yen. Nyanya JP mentions that Japanese yen are making the prices go up, which is very, very true. And some more price comment. It's not just cocoa. The price of sugar, milk, and shipping has also climbed significantly. That's correct. That's always the thing. It's hard. I have a hard time understanding it too, even after watching it all these years, about the yen going up and the yen going down, because a weak yen has to be advantageous to part of the economy, right? To the
Well,
exporters.
yeah, right. So Japan relies both on import and export, right?
And export, right?
Um, and so they import the raw materials, they process it here, and then they export it again. Or at least that's
Mm-hmm.
what, like during the bubble, I think that was because Japan
Mm-hmm.
doesn't have a lot of natural resources. But
Mm-hmm.
if the value added um, is, 'cause salaries, as we know, are not very elastic. So even when the yen gets weaker or when prices go up, salaries don't jump up at the same rate.
Mm-hmm.
So if the yen gets weak, it's basically lowering labor costs. Even if your inputs go up, I think that makes exports cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe that Takaichi is sort of pro weak yen due to the positive effect that she sees it's going to have on exports.
Uh-huh.
But obviously, as was it Nyan mentioned,
Mm-hmm.
having weak yen, if you're buying stuff that's imported, then it's just going to make everything more, like for example, crystal clear example would be if you're buying an iPhone, Apple sets the price at the, whatever the exchange rate is, they set the same price throughout the world. So the price is going to be more expensive in yen than it was before.
Yep.
So
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty. And then, of course, traveling overseas now with the yen so weak, it's really hard to travel overseas. So
Yeah. Yeah. And Yanya says that he got a huge box of Lindt chocolate at Costco for 1,900 yen, which is not much for Lindt chocolate. Lindt chocolate is pretty good stuff. But my son's chocolate-covered marshmallows were the same price at Caldi. Woo! Chocolate-covered marshmallows. That I used to see Filipina ladies outside the station stopping people walking by trying to sell them chocolate-covered marshmallows.
in Japan?
Yeah, near where I live. Yeah.
Now, I mean, recently, like because
No,
it's
it's
Valentine's, or this is
probably
like
some months ago.
okay,
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
I usually buy my chocolate from stores, not like people selling it on the street.
Yeah.
But
Right.
I was going to say, like I often have a snack in the afternoon, but lately it's been Anko instead of chocolate because I like Anko, and it hasn't gone up in price like chocolate has. So.
There you go. I'm going to talk about Anko later. Isn't that something?
Okay.
Great minds, right? Okay. Here's something. I was chatting with the head honcho at Arasaki Marina on Thursday. We both heard about the advanced weaponry that Japan has under the hood. For example, a viable rail gun. Now, this is, of course, one of the questions about the new administration that, of course, we're not going to have we're not going to be able to, what shall I say? We're not going to have any say here, I mean, as gaijins, even as permanent residents, but it's Japan's defense spending and defense and weaponry and the Japanese atomic weapons stance and things like that. Do you have any view on that?
Yeah, kind of like you said, not really. So like not Japan specifically, but like countries in general. I think if you ask like 1,000 people from 100 different countries, like, would you like your country to be able to defend itself from other countries? I would guess that the vast majority of people would say, yes, I would like my country to be able to defend itself from somebody else. I guess the argument is that the self-defense forces are that. But yeah, I mean, I guess having military is kind of part of the package deal with having sovereignty.
Right. Especially in this day and age and in this neck of the woods.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess many countries in the world have had the benefit. I guess so I'm thinking from an American point of view. So like America has bases around the world. And I think America, sometimes you might say that America goes where people don't want them to go. Well, obviously somebody doesn't want them to go there. But, Japan has had American bases for a long time. And there are definitely cons to having American bases in Japan. But I think that, it has provided stability and security. Whether that's worth the cost that's paid, that's a separate issue. But I don't know. Obviously, Japan has to figure out whether it's going to be the same or if it's going to change going forward.
Yeah, if you don't mind a little bit of wild speculation on my part, but I've always thought that Japan probably has one of those arrangements where they have part of a nuclear weapon in one room and part of a nuclear weapon in the neighboring room, and in case of an emergency, they could create a nuclear weapon pretty quickly. And if they don't, I don't understand why they wouldn't. just I said, pure speculation.
Right. Well, again, not specifically about the Japan, but like there's sometimes talk about different technologies that could be used for nuclear power reactors. And I think one of the reasons why uranium or I guess there's a fast breeder reactors, but uranium reactors are used because the byproduct is something that can be used for weapons. So yeah, I don't know, but actually what you said about the parts being held separate, do you know the Buddhist parable about the cart? There's a
No, I
Buddhist
don't.
parable. It's like the question is like, what is the self? And then the ultimate answer is there is no self. And it's like, well, if you take the wheels off the cart, is it still a cart? If you take this off it, is it like, where is the cart? Because like you could take any part off, and then the rest of the parts, like most times you'd say it's a cart, but there's like no line that says this is or this isn't. So it's like, well, you know, this one part over here and one part over here, well, it isn't the thing, but now when you put them together, it's the thing. So
yeah, it's exactly it.
yeah, so kind of a philosophical question.
Yeah. Okay.
I haven't been watching the comments.
Yeah, I've been keeping an eye on. Here's a U.S. dollar, I think 96.8. Do you look at the U.S. dollar from this direction, 96? Yeah, I always look at it from the other way.
Oh, no, hang on. No. So like I know that it's what, I don't know what it is today, but like 155 sometimes goes up to 157.
Okay.
I want to say that today was around 155.
Yeah. So the Japanese yen is more valuable than it was a while. Nyanya says, I need to find those ladies, the ones selling
the chocolate covered marshmallows. Yeah.
So yeah, that's good news, RB, but maybe the dollar is dropping. I don't know.
Right.
I don't. Yeah, it is. Oh,
no, it is apparently. I really, the only one that I look at is yen to dollars, and but I have heard that for reasons independent of Japan, the dollar is also dropping, for example, against the euro.
Really?
And so while the dollar to Japan exchange rate might seem relatively stable, like it's bouncing around in the mid 150s, I think maybe it's gone from 153 to 157, and maybe it's at 155 now. But compared with the euro, maybe the yen is steadily getting weaker. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. Steve Martin mentioned something. Instead of the 2 rooms, he talks about a screwdriver bomb. The turn of a screw makes it fire. I've never heard of it either, thus providing deniability. Oh, deniability. What did Nixon call it? Plausible deniability. That's what it is.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, here's a good one. Go ahead.
Apparently, plausible deniability is completely different from like actual deniability, because like everybody knows it, but like we can make up a story that maybe in some circumstances it isn't.
Yeah. And RB9522, our very good friend, says, finally, Japan will have an intelligence agency that's always been missing in the past, which is true.
Actually, I don't know anything about that.
Yeah. They're formally creating an intelligence agency. And there was an article. I didn't read the article, so I may misrepresent it. But there was one article that was saying that maybe Japan would team up with the U.S. or the Five Eyes intelligence network and join that. And then I saw another article that said, no, Japan's going to go independent and develop its own intelligence agency. And Steve Martin says Japan has an agency called the NPA, and then he said, "Oops, PCI, PSI." I don't know what all that is, but during the Japan bubble, when Japan was a real mercantile hot country, they were famous for their espionage, their industrial espionage.
Okay.
Their ability to spy on and steal technology.
Steal trade secrets sort of thing.
Trade secrets, yes, yes, yes. So even though Japan didn't have an official agency, I think they are capable of doing what is required, right? Yeah. So the card thing also has a parallel from ancient Greece, a ship, I think. Okay.
It kind of, I mean, it is deep, but it doesn't seem like it's unique. So makes sense that different cultures come up with the same question.
Isn't there also, I mean, it's not exactly the same, but there's also the thing about the blind people and the elephant.
So like I think that's a slightly different one, but there's like these blind people, and then it's like, oh, it's long and flexible, or like, oh, it feels like a wall, or no, it's a pillar, and then it's different parts of the elephant.
But the same question, right? I mean, what's an elephant kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So it says that the yen dropped to or the dollar dropped to 150 today. Okay. All right. And RB 9522. The US dollar index is the US dollar against its average. RB 9522. I'm going to ask you a question. Do you have a name? If so, let us know. Drop a comment. Because otherwise, I have to keep calling you RB 9522. I feel like I'm talking to R2D2's customers.
If he wants to be anonymous, it's okay. Maybe that's why his name is RB.
Yeah, RB.
Rich.
Right. So I always thought that Japan has all the weaponry it needs for defense, maybe including nukes, housed by the U.S. military on bases here. That's that's possible. That's always very possible, isn't it?
Well, no. Does that mean that there are weapons that, when needed, the Japanese self-defense forces will go say, okay, give us our stuff now? Or does that mean, or just the point is it comes with personnel to use them as well? Because obviously, the U.S. military in Japan has, it's been here since World War II, right? And again, my impression is that it's provided a lot of benefit for Japan over the many years.
Yeah, as far as defense is concerned.
Right.
Yeah. And plausible deniability. A little bit more. While the wiki read also mentions Japan's bomb in the cellar. Wow. Okay. I didn't know about that. And there's John. Hi, guys. Hi, John. Where are you? Okay. Okay. You wanna talk for a little bit? I'm gonna try sending John the link again to this place and see if he can join us. Okay.
Sure.
So take it.
Okay. Wow, putting me on the spot. I'm looking at my notes about the election. I mean, I think in terms of the election, it was a historical outcome. I think so. The next election isn't until the summer of 2028. That's the upper house. And to be honest, I don't think that a lot is going to change. Maybe LDP. I mean, it's hard to know what Japan is going to and the world is going to be like in 2 years, but I think that because they already have half and they need 2/3 in order to change the constitution, I think that even in 2028, maybe they're not going to get it because only half of the seats are up for election. But in any case, the LDP has the reins now. And so if LDP and Takaichi can make everybody happy, then LDP will continue their domination. And if things go badly for Japan for whatever reason, then it's kind of hard to put the blame on anybody other than the LDP. So
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I just sent John the link so I hope he can get in using it, but we'll see. Okay. Yeah, when a election is finished, it's easy to think, okay, we did it. We got, it's finished. Things will go back to normal. But actually, we're right back to where we started. We don't know. We don't know what's going to happen from now, basically, do we?
Yeah, I mean, I think the news reported, Takaichi, right after the election, she wasn't like congratulating herself and having a party. She's like, okay, now we got to get the work done. So again, it feels. Hey, John.
Sorry about that. I was in
Okay.
I was in the wrong link, but I was listening.
Okay, yeah. Well, glad to see you here.
Yeah, it's good to see you.
Yeah. How about what do you think about the election?
Well, so here's the biggest question on, I go around, when something happens, like from Saturday to Saturday, I make the rounds with everyone, and I have my finger on the pulse, as you probably do when you talk to your students. Of course, it depends on the level of students. When you're talking to elementary kids, you're not going to get a lot of feedback. Because then again, a lot of Japanese people are not really interested in politics. Evidently, they are now, though. With this voter turnout, it's uplifting to hear that turnout was good and that the young people have a say. But and I think this is the point that Carl made. I'm sorry, that Ed made. Sorry. This is the point that Ed made, is can Takaichi change the party? Because the people want Takaichi. They just don't want this dusty old LDP full of cronies. And if Takaichi can transform the LDP party, then I think things will go well. So the friction that is in the party there. And so I guess I'd like to hear Ed's opinion, or even you, Carl. Does she have the mojo to change the party?
Good question.
I think the trap is to think of the LDP as a kind of monolithic group, and I think in general, when it goes to the votes, then everybody votes along party lines. But I think if you open the hood, then there's many factions. With a party so big, of course there has to be factions. And Takaichi is said to be more conservative than Ishiba was.
According to Ishiba, this doesn't give her a green light to steamroll through on her policies. That was his position.
But I think, as Ed was saying before, even with the LDP approval rating hasn't jumped to the approval rating that Takaichi has. So in a way, this is a Takaichi victory rather than kind of a generic LDP victory.
Okay. Well, then let's.
If that's the case, it feels like Takaichi should have the power to say, look, we've got in this position because of me. Now listen to me. I mean, it seems like she should be able to say that.
Ed has seen a lot more prime ministers than we have. They changed their socks.
Yeah.
Have you seen anything like this phenomena before, where a prime minister actually had the power to modify the party?
Well, there have been prime ministers who came in strong and made changes, and probably necessary changes, but they always ended up getting
swamped.
Their popularity always ended up going after time, and they were we never heard
common denominator, whatever that's called.
One guy who comes to mind, and this is one of the earliest one, was Kakue Tanaka, and he was almost a Trumpian figure because he was an outsider, and he came in and he was, you know, and bullied his way and really changed a lot of things in Japan. And then
To
he
the
got
better?
I think so, but you know,
Okay.
a lot of people don't. Right? But he got involved in the Lockheed scandal.
Ah,
Yeah,
but that was
and,
Lockheed's fault, not Japan's.
yeah, and then he was. They say that he was responsible for building the highway up into the Tohoku Expressway because he was from up in that area and all this kind of stuff. So it's and another guy that made made a big difference was Koizumi, right? The privatization of Japan, which some people don't agree with at all, and hated him for that, and that kind of thing. Talking about Japanese politics, excuse me for going on.
Go ahead, Ed. We asked you.
I heard a stat that I found was eye popping. Even as much as I know, I thought that was eye popping. 30% of Japanese politicians are sons or cousins.
Oh, it's a dynasty.
Yeah.
It's dynastic.
So it makes you, you know.
Crony.
And they pointed out that Takaichi is basically an outsider too.
Yeah.
Because she's not of a political family.
But not necessarily because she's an Abeist. Is that what they call her?
Right.
Yeah.
But her roots were humble roots. They said.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Play that. Yeah. Okay.
But she was a protege of Abe. That's for sure. Yeah.
When I'm making my rounds, the major drawback, and I go back years with this because Abe was prime minister for years. I mean, he was like the longest standing, and then even after he retired, he was still head of the party.
Yeah.
And the biggest complaint was that they were just too right wing when it came to things like same-sex marriage or the name. What is it? Surname, where you can't use the wife's name or something like that.
No, so some married couples, they want to keep their pre-married name. So like the wife wants to keep her maiden name, and
but then again,
in Japan that's not allowed.
This? Sorry, I'm sorry, Carl.
It's okay.
Do you know that if there is no sole surviving son of a family, for example, if the family only has a daughter, and the husband's family is not the eldest son. For example, if the only daughter, if the family only has daughters, and a daughter marries a non-firstborn son, then he gets her maiden name in Japan.
So I could be wrong, but I thought that when they get married, they could, like, regardless of what the birth order is and so forth, I thought that they had to be the same, but they can choose. Like,
they can choose the name.
Maybe you have experience with this, Ed, but I thought,
but being a foreigner, okay, I'll just say something. My daughter officially has my wife's ex-husband's surname.
I know that in this, compared with the States, in Japan, it's really hard to change your name. Like, I think in the States, I think it's like you need a reason that the courts say is legitimate.
Yeah, okay.
Whereas in the States, I think the reason is, well, because you want to change your name.
Well, or the tyranny of the red tape, right? Which Myers.
Okay, RB9522, who I found out is he did give us his name. He's Rich. Okay, Rich tells us that my wife and I.
That's why he won't tell us his name, because he's rich. He doesn't want to be exploited.
Yeah, I like that name. My wife and I do keep separate names. It works out great. And actually, my wife uses her maiden name on a lot of her official things too.
Paperwork. Yeah.
But it's different for Japanese people married to foreigners. If it's two Japanese people getting married, they can't do that. But for getting married to foreigners, you can.
I know a foreign guy who, when they got married, he took his wife's name.
So I don't know if it's, I mean, That also seems
for
like it's an
administrative
option.
purposes.
Yeah, I don't know why he did it, but he, you know, he just
Probably
thought. I
for
think.
administrative purposes. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I guess
knew
that
very
would be
early
that.
on.
What do they call it? Yoshi or something? When a guy marries a woman and they don't have a son, he takes
Yeah, the Yoshi and Gumi or
Yeah, one of my
Muko
students
Yoshi.
years
Muko
ago,
Yoshi.
like 30 years ago, was this. It was that the family name was her maiden name.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
So then why are people so uptight about this supposedly ultra right-wing LDP stance when in reality, is it really so ultra conservative? What kind of progression do people want?
There are so many things in Japan that, you know, in some ways Japan seems, you know, very, you know, oh, okay, you know, very
Progressive.
not, you know, I hate to use that word.
Okay.
I know what you mean, but very progressive and logical about the way they do things, and some things that they're so stubborn about.
Archaic,
and I sit there and I wonder, why are they stubborn about this issue? Why did they pick this hill to die upon?
It's the way it's always been done.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well,
I mean,
when you're in the military, that's.
I feel like, you know, Japan obviously is a modern country, but, you know, 100, I guess we're closing in on 200 years, but, you know, like it was the feudal system not so many generations ago.
Yeah, that's true.
So right now there's koseki. That's where it's like your birth certificate, your marriage certificate, your death certificate, everything's all rolled into one. And so the koseki system now is, I guess it's the nuclear family, and I don't know the details, but I think, you know, a few generations ago it was a different system, and it was I guess the ie system. So like the house was, maybe that'll be a topic for a future.
Well, I think we can
stream.
agree that Japan is basically the last country to globalize. And that might be why we see this arcane nature of so many aspects, because Japan is basically the last to enter the globalization game.
I don't think that's true of every aspect of Japanese society. I think Japan modernized, you know, in Meiji, Japan modernized before other countries. And that's why, you know, Japan is where, you know, like for me, when I came to Japan in '93, yes, it's obviously not Kansas, but it felt that Japan was basically a modern Western country. But when I went to other places in Asia, it felt a lot more exotic and a lot less like the States. House plot sizes notwithstanding. So
everybody remembers the Chinese Revolution, how they were like destroying statues and burning temples because they wanted to, the Maoists wanted to cleanse the nation of its theological heritage or whatever to become a pure Marxist state. And and then Chiang Kai-shek was able to rescue all these treasures and take it to Taiwan, if you remember your history. In Japan, in the Meiji period, there was a rash to burn all the cherry trees. Because the public outcry, burn the cherries, because the cherry trees were symbolic of the Edo period. And there were a few individuals who protected cherries on their private property so that they could repopulate the country after the rash had died away.
I've never heard.
I didn't know about that until a student told me about it. That was pretty amazing to me to hear that story. Anyway,
I've never heard that story before either.
Yeah, I was shocked by that one. I thought that was amazing. But evidently, the Meiji period, I mean, the Americans came in with one battleship, and the whole nation was like, we want Amazon, you know, or we want a market. We want access to the world goods. We want to trade. it was a populist movement, wasn't the Meiji Reformation? It wasn't like the Americans had to occupy the country with soldiers. The people wanted to have open borders, right? I mean, they wanted access to global trade.
I think there were the loyalists, and then there were those who wanted to westernize.
So it was still a struggle, I guess. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you had
But
the
it was
people who
definitely a
were
revolution.
entrenched in the old ways who didn't want to change, right?
Sure.
That's why
Especially
it's
if you're
called
gonna lose your job.
the Meiji Revolution. So they changed
A
they
lot of
changed the
people
whole
made a lot
political
of money
system, right?
really quickly too.
Yep.
The Zaibatsu. That's when the Zaibatsu got rich. But
Sure.
that's another story.
Yeah, it's the Meiji Restoration, and the Meiji Restoration was, it was the struggle between the then government and bringing the emperor back, right, into the political realm. The Meiji emperor.
Because Tokugawa had basically overshadowed the emperor himself. The shogun the militarists had overshadowed the emperor.
Yeah, there's been a long struggle in Japanese history between.
Yeah, sure.
There's quite a few interesting comments that are coming across the chat.
Yeah.
Would
you like to highlight?
Actually, so David, it's a few comments back. David Cole mentioned, so Yoshien Gumi is adoption, and it's not the same as, not exactly it could be the same as, or Muko Yoshi is maybe related to adoption. But so and then he said it's for inherited purposes. And so
yes.
I want to mention something that I heard about adoption that is probably, if you've never heard this, it's quite bizarre. But you've probably heard that inheritance tax from one generation to the next is quite high in Japan. I don't know, like 50% or something like that. Whatever it is, it's quite high.
Exorbitant.
And so for people who only have, like a few $100,000 or like $1 million, then maybe it's no big deal. You just, you pay what you have to pay. But for families that have lots of money, what they can do is, in order to reduce the intergenerational inheritance tax, the grandfather adopts the grandson, and the grandson becomes the son by adoption.
Oh, wow.
And
so they can skip a step.
And like you could think you only pay the tax every 2 generations by doing that.
Oh, I see. Interesting.
So you skip a middle one.
Yeah.
And
so maybe
apparently
that's
this
how
is,
these politicians keep their money, right? And guarantee
I think at the end of the day, you still have to pay some tax. It's just that, if it's compounded, it's only 5 compounds instead of 10 compounds.
Try to do that in America, you get laughed out of the office. But I guess it's
I think it's not necessary in America because the tax rate is lower.
Okay. Wow.
Anyway, so kind of random.
That's interesting.
Random story that I heard that's interesting.
Yeah, we sort of got off the
get us back on track, Ed.
Yeah, I'm trying to keep it tight here.
Okay.
This topic, our next topic. Let's move on to that for a while because it's a little bit more light-hearted and more personal for the three of us. I think every one of us will take turns hitting the floor and talking about to answer this question. What brought you to Japan, and what has kept you in Japan all these years? Now, this is a topic that comes from one of John's students, who suggested it as a topic, and
she didn't want to see us fall into another dark hole again. She wanted some light at the end of the tunnel. So I thought that was
this is a really good topic. So since it was your student, would you like to start?
Well, I kind of want Carl to start because I don't know why he came. Nobody knows why any of us stayed, but Carl, why did you actually come to Japan?
Okay, so how much time do I have? So
We're not on the.
So
we're on the
I'll
clock.
try
We're
to
not on the clock.
keep it the. Okay, so I had I wanted to live. I had lived in Europe as a child due to my father's work. I'm American, but and when I graduated university, I wanted to live, just like my dad had lived abroad. I wanted to live abroad again, and I had already been to Europe, so I was thought, like, well, wouldn't it be interesting to go to Asia somewhere? And I had been on vacation in Hawaii, and in Hawaii I sort of first, quote unquote, discovered Japan. I ate sushi, met Japanese people, and so forth and so on. And that's why. And I applied for the JET program, which is ALT teaching positions at, in my case, high school. And that's the way that I came to Japan, like a year after I graduated university.
Where did you graduate
When I,
university? I'm sorry.
yeah, I graduated university. I worked
Where?
In Michigan, University of Michigan.
Oh, okay. But it was your experience in Hawaii that introduced you to the Japanese, because I guess that was the bubble and lots of Japanese people in Hawaii in the 1980s.
Well, I was actually at I took some classes at the University of Hawaii.
Okay.
And I met some Japanese people who were also there, and
Yeah.
just basically I got my first exposure to Japan. I thought, oh, it's interesting. There's a guy named Edwin Oldfather Reischauer, who's a Harvard professor, but was a former ambassador to Japan, and he wrote a book, The Japanese Today, and I read that, and I'm like, oh, this is really interesting. So let's see. So, but the real important question is, like, why did I stay? And so initially, so why did I like Japan? Well, when I lived in the States, going to the supermarket, like the everyday things are pretty mundane. It's like you go to the supermarket, it's like what you would expect. But going to the supermarket in Japan was like, what
a
is
whole new
this?
world.
Gohan desyo.
Salt or
It's
sugar.
like this weird green paste, and you put it on rice, and it tastes good. Or like, I've never seen a fish like that. So my daily life, what Japanese people would consider kind of mundane, was like an adventure every day. And so that was cool. And as I learned Japanese and as I got to know people and as I got to know my way around, the adventure kind of transitioned to like sort of like another home, so to speak. So I enjoyed interacting with all sorts of people. As a foreigner who speaks Japanese pretty well, lots of people were interested in engaging with me, and we had lots of interesting conversations. So that was the reason why I stayed at that time. And then now it's like, well, my career is here. I haven't been back to the States in, or not for very long, So let's see, maybe one more thing, and then that is like, if I were to go back, so I miss some things about the States, like my family, food, having a big yard, things like that. But I did go back to the States. Okay, I'll stick in this one more.
Go ahead.
I was working at a big Japanese company, and we had a business meeting with a supplier that came from the States. And one of the people at the supplier was actually from India, but the supplier was in the States. So I was in Hiroshima at the time, and these Americans and this one Indian guy were like, why is there an American working at this Japanese company in Hiroshima? And so I was interpreting at the meeting, but then we took breaks, and then I sort of talked offline with this Indian guy. He's like, how long have you been here? Oh, like 5 years. And like, how did you get to be here? And he told me his story. So he grew up in India. He went to the States for undergrad, and he said, okay, when I graduate, I'm going to go back to India. And then when it got time to graduate, he said, oh, well, I'm already here. May as well go to grad school. And he went to grad school. And then I'll go back. And then when he graduated from grad school, it's like, well, I have the opportunity to work here. I'll work for a couple of years, and then I'll go back to India. And like the next time he thought about it, he was married and he had a couple of kids, and he's like, I guess I'm never going back to India. And that conversation, I was still single, and that conversation made me think, okay, if I don't go back now, I'm going to be stuck here. So I figured out a way to go back to the States. I went back, but once I went back, I'm like, pretty soon, I'm like, how do I get back to Japan? So going back to the States for a number of years made me realize that I enjoyed being in Japan, and I came back and I've been here ever since. So that's quite a long answer, but
no,
that's why I'm in Japan.
I think my story matches with Ed in that we were sent here. We had no choice. They said, go to, for me, it was Okinawa. I think Ed was in Japan proper.
Fukuoka.
You were in, they sent me to Okinawa.
Actually, and it wasn't because I didn't want to. I asked for Japan.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Well, okay. I got lucky. I did really well in my school. It wasn't that difficult because the Marines, they're not so smart. So doing good on tests is not that difficult. They sent the top people to Hawaii. And I showed up at Hawaii, and I noticed all the other guys I kind of used to hang out with because we were a little bit a cut above, when it came to conversations, I was like, oh, well, you're here too, Finally, we figured it out. Wait a minute. They sent the top like 10% to Hawaii. And being in the military, you spend so much time outdoors. Hawaii is the best place to be if you're in the military, right? Even when it rains, it's not cold, right? And it's just great. It's just a great place to be in the military if you spend so much time outdoors. Anyway, of course, rotation comes up, and 300 of us are sent to Okinawa. And we arrive in Okinawa. The weather's terrible. People who say Okinawa is the Hawaii of Japan have never been to Hawaii, or at least never lived in Hawaii. You know what Hawaii's like, Carl. It's paradise.
Yeah, sure. I like Hawaii.
Oh, gosh. Yeah. So here we are in Okinawa, and suddenly all these childhood memories of the Godzilla movies. And, of course, the miniseries Shogun. Do you remember that? In 1980, with Richard Chamberlain and Toshiro Mifune and Shimada Yoko. Carl, do you remember that miniseries?
I'm sure I've seen clips of it on YouTube, but I wasn't interested in Japan in 1980. So
it all came back. It all came rolling back. I was like, wait a minute, this is the Japan, that I had been introduced to as a very young child, especially with the Godzilla movies. Right. So then I just fell in love. I started studying. I got a little phrase book. Maybe Ed, you know about this little book. It was the Tuttle Book Company. It was called Basic Japanese or Beginner's Japanese. This little green pocket book from the bookstore. Mizu Kudasai and Eki Doku desu ka.
I totally know Tuttle. Like I have dozens and dozens and dozens of books.
Yeah, Tuttle was a big publisher of books for gaijins back.
I think it was called
I don't know if they
Japanese
still are.
or something like that. Yeah.
When I was here, everybody had a little dictionary. It was about this big, and it was about this thick, and it was Japanese, English Japanese, and it was Oreste Vaccari's, an Italian guy, Oreste Vaccari's JEEJ dictionary. And every gaijin had that stuck in their pocket everywhere we went, to get us
no
through
electronics
the day.
in your pocket back then.
Is that a dictionary in your pocket, or you just happen to see?
Yeah. Welcome to Japan.
Yeah.
Of course, being in the military, and of course, it was before college, right? You were enlisted as well, Ed, right?
Yes.
You went to military before college. You realized that you got to get out and go back to college.
Well, I knew when it was time to go to college. I was accepted into the University of Illinois, but I knew that I wouldn't last because I was too much of a rambunctious young jerk, And I knew that.
And ex-military and older than your peers because you just spent the past 4 years in the military. Yeah.
I went back to college when I went to college when I was like 25. I had a kid. I graduated I was almost 30 when I graduated, but it was great because I was more mature than everybody else, right? And I got everything done. It was easy. Yeah.
And motivated because you don't want to roll back into that, you know, because military is very classist.
Motivated because you knew what you were shooting for. You had a
Because the guy in the military, the people without university are the enlisted ranks, and then the people with college education are the officers, and you're like, what? The injustice. And you realize you got to get a degree if you want to.
Can I tell you an officer story? I was in Massachusetts waiting to go to school because my school, one group had already started and there wasn't another group for like 4 or 5 months. So as you said, in the military, they're always giving you these tests, right? And the tests are always shooting for the lowest common denominator. And I remember this because I was like 19 years old and I took this test and they called me in and they said, hey, you did really good on that test. And I said, oh, thanks, you know. And they said, how would you like to become a warrant officer?
Ooh.
And I said, warrant officer? And they said, yeah, your pay will triple. You'll have people saluting you. You'll be a big shot. And I said, what do I have to do? And they said, we have to go to this school. And I said, what school is that? And he said, helicopter pilot. And it was during the Vietnam War, you know.
Oh, my
19
God.
years old. I hadn't had my driver's license that long. And they were going to give me a helicopter.
No.
Oh, I couldn't get out of the door quicker, you know. Yeah. I mean, I was out of there as soon as I could, you know. I had
during Vietnam, those were the first guys to go down.
Yeah.
My brother was smart. He was in a submarine during the Vietnam War, so
you mentioned that. And the submarines were our elite unit in the Navy.
Oh, he was an officer. He was ROTC and all that. We're doing military speak here. Sorry.
Yeah.
But as far as staying, because after university, that's when I still had that book in my pocket. I was meeting Japanese people at university, trying to practice my Japanese, and every one of my Japanese friends said, you got to go back to Japan. And I knew I couldn't really become bilingual living in America. I really feel sorry for the English students here that have to study English here when they're surrounded by Japanese every day. And I knew if I wanted to be bilingual, I'd have to move to Japan. And so I did. Yeah.
About this English thing. I have 2 sons who attended Japanese school. And I asked them about it one time. I said, with all these studies, all the studying that Japanese people do of English in school, why is it that the level is still relatively poor, especially among the guys? The guys are much, you know, some young ladies are really good, but the guys are really, and they told me something that shocked me. Maybe you guys know this already. They said that if a guy in school does too well in English, he becomes a target of bullying.
Yeah, sure.
People start saying, yeah, what are you doing? You're trying to become a gaijin and stuff like that. And they start, and so they intentionally mispronounce and don't do well. And
I think that doesn't happen until about a junior high school, though. As long as they're elementaries, they don't feel that peer pressure. And being an elementary school teacher was always a joy. But as soon as you move into junior high and high school, it's like, wait a minute, what am I doing here? And the private schools were always a better situation for a teacher. I kind of felt sorry for those jet teachers. Maybe, Carl, you had a better experience as a jet, but.
So the mantra of the jet program is every jet's experience is different. I was fairly fortunate that I was basically at one school the whole time, which a lot of people, they have like 10 different schools and they're there one day and then they don't come back for another 2 weeks. So it's hard to build relationships. And then sometimes the Japanese teacher does most of the work, and sometimes the foreigner is, you know, like they put you in front of the students and say, do your thing. Let's see your show. But I was at the same place, and it was even though it was at the same place all the time, it was a relatively small school. So I got to know the students at the school pretty well, I think, and the teachers at the school pretty well.
Was it a good school? This was a junior high or a high school?
Mine was a high school, but the level actually wasn't that high.
But was it a good school? Not the level necessarily, but was it a good school? Because
I mean, I enjoyed my experience there. I
Okay.
think I had. I think at that time anyway, you know, yes, you're helping them with their conversation. You're helping sort of acclimate the students to interacting with foreigners. But it's not just about the English. It's, you know, like giving people the experience of interacting with foreigners. So I think I did a good job.
Well, yeah, but in my example, or in my case, sorry, I was being rotated through like 3 different schools during the week.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And
yeah, that's what I was.
the neighboring schools were like night and day. Like the places, Nagao Nishi had a very motivated principal, and they had, you know, they had a quality, well, leadership. He was motivated. And then on the other side of the highway was this, I shouldn't say the name, but it was just terrible. It was like the gangs had taken over. It was horrible. There was no leadership. The principal, I walk into the toilet, there's voices. I hear voices. It's the principal talking to himself, right? It's like, ugh. And it was a disaster. But then 2 days later, I was back at the other one. It was like, oh. So it really was case by case with these schools, you know, good and bad. Yeah. Of course, like 3 years later, and it's not a district thing. Like in America, if it's a bad neighborhood, it's a bad school, as far as income and, you know, that kind of thing. But 3 years later, they might get a better principal, and it changes everything. It's kind of the way it is in this country.
Yeah. I guess I need to figure out sooner than later, but haven't figured. There are some districts that have reputations for being good schools, and others not so much. But
I guess that would be a magnet for the better principals. Yeah.
Although my feeling was that you know, if you work for the prefectural board of education, you don't have much say into where they put you. So, like, you know, you're at a school that's you know, like a mile or 2 from your house, and then the next year it's like you might be the place that's a 40-minute drive away or something. So,
well, who knows what the politics is in the board of education and how these people, I mean, the friends you got to make, who knows the inner workings of school leadership. I didn't want to have anything to do with that. I just wanted to teach. I'm sure that's the way it was with you too.
Actually, I want to go back. Steve Martin had a comment a little while ago. So it's asking me about the University of Hawaii. So the short answer is I found, this is before the internet, in a travel book, like I wanted to go to Hawaii for, you know, like a month or 2 rather than like a week or 2. And a month in a hotel would be expensive and you wouldn't have any network. So this travel guide said, you can go to the University of Hawaii in the summer. You don't get dibs on classes. You get like what's left over when you get there. But you take a couple of credits and you can stay in the dorm. You can you know, hang out with other people in the dorm. And that's as opposed to like staying in a hotel on the beach in Waikiki. So that's what I did. And that's how I had all these experiences. So I'm sure that there are people who do it now too.
In all of the cities I've been to, all the countries I've been to around this world, the university district, the place where the universities are, was always the best part of the city. The lowest crime rate, the best little restaurants and cafes, the nicest people. I think that's almost a universal. I was in China a few years ago, and I got lucky. I was in this university district because the eclipse was the shadow of the center line of the shadow of the moon was passing right over this area south of Shanghai. I was like, oh, okay, that's where I got to be to maximize the totality, right? It ended up being a university district. I didn't know. Turns out it was a great place to stay.
Great.
I don't think I'd want to stay in any other place than a university district.
Okay, we sort of
Ed,
strayed
you
off
didn't really answer why you really fell in love, and you asked to go to Japan.
I was in love with Japan before I got here.
Because
I mentioned this in one of my Life in Japan videos, but I was in the Army. I was in the Army Security Agency, and my first duty assignment was on the island of Shimiya. And the island of Shimiya is out at the end of the Aleutian chain, not far, closer to the Kamchatka Peninsula than it is to the United States.
Where the date line does the little jog.
Where the date line came out, that's where Shimiya is.
Okay.
And it was a 2-mile by 4-mile island, and I was there for 15 months. So after that, they gave me a choice that you can choose where you want to go next. So there was this guy, he was a little bit older, and he had just come from Japan, and he raved about it, and I was really happy to go. I mean, when you're in a small island like that, you got a lot of time for sitting around and talking and drinking beer, and I had this visions of, what was it, sugar plums dancing in my head or whatever. And so when it came time to submit what we used to call our dream sheet, they said, "Where do you want to go next?" And I said, "Japan." And they said, "Okay." He said, "For your kind of work, there are one of two bases, Chitose or Hakata." So I didn't know one from the other. Chitose is in Hokkaido, Hakata is in Kyushu, but I didn't know that at the time. So I was in Alaska. So I said, "Which one is warmer?" And they said, "Hakata." And I said, "That's it." And that's where I ended up going. Yeah. And it changed my life. I loved it from the minute I was here.
Everything he said about Japan was true. He wasn't.
Yeah.
He just had to tell the truth. And
And I had a romantic vision about East Asia from long before that too, right? I don't know what it was. Probably, I said on my video, probably a touch of yellow fever. I don't know, but
there's a lot to love about this country. There is.
You're from Chicago, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
So when I lived in Chicago the year before I came to Japan, that was like 92, there was a Chinatown. There was sort of like the remnants of a Japantown over on Clark Street. Up on Argyle, there was like a Vietnam town. And, for me, it was like visiting foreign countries, going to those places and having lunch and looking in the stores and all that kind of stuff. When you were living, before you joined the military, were all of those neighborhoods around? And was it like
Chinatown? I was familiar with. Yeah, I was familiar with Chinatown. And when my wife and I lived in Chicago together after we got married and had a kid, there was a time. I loved Japan when I got here, but I went through the stages of an expat. And there was a time that I was so fed up with Japan that I just couldn't get out of here quick enough. And I moved back to the States and went to work in my father's company where my older brother was also working. And I went back to America, and I was there, I would say 3 weeks, when I said,
what industry was that, Ed? What kind of company? I'm sorry, what kind of company was that?
Manufacturer's representative for structural steel products, right?
But it was like desk work. It was
yes, absolutely desk work.
Office work. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and I hated it, and I stayed in America. I spent all my money to go back, and I stayed there long enough to save up enough money to come back here, and I came back here and never looked back. I had one memory that I wanted to share. I had been in Japan for a relatively short time, and in those days I was young, dumb, and smoking cigarettes. And generally we bought our cigarettes on the base because, as they're so cheap because there was no tax.
Yeah.
I think when I came in basic training, we paid 15 cents a pack for a pack of cigarettes. But anyway, I was off base and I was bouncing around, no cigarettes, and I had a little bit of a bad throat. So I wanted to get something with menthol, which is, even dumber. But I didn't know what it was. So you know how the old tobacco shops used to be, where they would have a window out on the street, and there'd be an old guy or an old woman under the kotatsu, putting it up. So that's a tobacco shop. So in those days, a pack of Japanese cigarettes were 100 yen. Everything was 100. Almost everything was 100 yen. Some were 50, some were 80, but the most of the popular cigarettes were 100 yen a pack. So I went up to the window and I said, even then I had some rudimentary Japanese. So I said, "Do you have menthol?" And she goes, "Yeah." And MF, menthol filter cigarettes, and it had a big M on the pack. And she put it up there, and I took 100 yen and I put it in the tray, picked up the cigarettes, and walked down the street. Now I was a young, strapping guy, and I'm going on, and I hear behind me, "Okyak-san, Okyak-san." And I turn around, and this woman is hobbling down the street after me. She says, "You forgot your change, 20 yen. God.
Yeah.
And that, for some reason, really sent a bolt of lightning through me,
The first time I went to McDonald's, and because I was driving out in the countryside, McDonald's in Japan.
Yeah.
She comes running out into the parking lot as I'm driving away to give me 1 yen.
Same kind of thing.
Things like that. It's just wow. And what say no more.
So in a way, these are positive things, but sometimes it's not really positive. So sometimes if you're if you're the shop side and you're collecting all this money, and then at the end of the day you count the money and it's supposed to be 1,236 yen and it's 1,235 yen, then everybody in the office will stop everything they're doing and they'll search for the 1 yen. And it's here, I'll just stick it out of my pocket. And it's no, you can't do that.
Decades later, I'm in McDonald's and I'm paying in cash and I'm 1 yen short. And the whole place is like statues. In the States, you got have a penny, leave a penny, need a penny, take a penny. They don't do that here. If you don't have that 1 yen, sorry. I had to run back to my apartment and get, more money before my burger got cold.
It's funny because things like that, which really had a positive feel to it at the time, very similar things were what made me hate Japan after all. Steve Martin.
Got to take the good with the bad, I guess.
He gave us our 1 yen. No, he gave 1,000 yen. He tried to send 1 yen. It's just his joke.
There it is.
His message.
Oh, you want a refund?
Hopefully,
Steve Martin, thanks so much. Thanks so much. That's really nice of you. Oh, man, oh man. Just to say, oh, thank you. It sounds so that you don't know how much that means. It's really, really appreciated, both to you and Nyanya. Nyanya quieted down. I hope he's still around, he, she, or whoever. I have a theory about staying here a long time, about me, if you don't mind me. If you don't mind me.
Maybe it applies to us. I'm all ears.
I grew up in a Roman Catholic household, it wasn't super strict, like that, but my father followed the rules, go to church and, all this kind of stuff. And I went to Catholic school, and my high school was an all-boys Catholic boarding school. And after I graduated from there, I was in the Army for 4 years. And I wonder sometimes if that didn't set me up for being comfortable in Japan, where there's unquestioned authority and do what you're told and take what they give you and shikata and all that kind of. I really wonder about that. So, but then again, I'm sure you guys didn't have the same upbringing, so maybe it's just a bunch of.
I definitely didn't go to Catholic school, so and I wasn't in the military, so.
One thing that really sets the United States apart from Japan, we take it for granted. We had a cultural revolution. We had anti-war and the hippies, and we went into the, we had that. Japan never really had that.
Yeah.
It's been a gradual, separation into a little bit more freedom for the young people, but it was never revolutionary. They didn't have a hippie movement.
And I got into this with a commenter one time. during the early 1970s, Japan was a very different place than it is today. There were, I'm from Chicago. When I came to Japan and started watching TV reports in the evening, my first impression was, what a violent place this is, Japan.
Really?
Every day there would be newsreels on the TV of police and students in running, pitched battles. Big sticks hitting each other over the head. Every day. Yeah. Narita
I think it's.
Airport.
I think there's a period where it's called Gakusei Undo, so it's like
Yes.
student protests, and I don't know the details if that was like in the 60s or if the 70s, but I think it was a big thing for many years.
Late 60s, early 70s, yes.
I guess you're right. And then, of course, the motorcycle gangs and all of that, too.
Yeah. And did you know about the bombing of the Mitsubishi building in downtown Tokyo?
I know about the Mishima incident, the Professor Mishima, the author that committed suicide because the students wouldn't follow him into the next militarist phase or whatever.
Yukio Mishima. Mishima Yukio, yeah.
Yeah, that was right about that time too, I guess. Okay.
Well, that was trailing, but there were times when, I mean, you know about Narita Airport. To build Narita, I think like 9 people died when the protests
against it. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And which struck me at the time because, you know, we had Haneda. They said, we've got to build Narita. There were these protests. People died. They've beaten each other to pieces.
Wow.
And then they say, oh, we're going to move international back to Haneda. That never made any sense to me, right?
I don't remember when it moved back. Was like in the around 2000 or something?
They ruined the airport when they did that.
Yeah.
Haneda was a nice little airport. And then when they put that second terminal in there, they ruined it. They just... It ruined that airport.
All I can say is Haneda is a lot closer than Narita, so it's convenient.
There was a guy, I mentioned that one time about the Narita airport, and there was a guy who said he says, I was there back then, and the Narita airport incident was nothing more than 3 or 4 farmers in a what do they call that when the government takes land?
Eminent domain.
Eminent domain dispute with the government. I thought, what? You know, people don't know. I mean, it was crazy. It was crazy bad. There was a time where there was somebody, they never figured out who it was, who would put bombs in the lockers of train stations. Wow. Yeah, and they would just blow up and
in the 70s.
In the early 70s, yes.
Wow.
Yes. I ought to do a video on that.
You should.
Yeah, violent Japan.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but I wonder if Japan didn't realize this is bad, this is dangerous. I wonder if they didn't adjust the education system to suppress students from
it's
doing
pretty
that.
oppressive and until we haven't really talked about the crime here, but the incidents that they had, for example, Shonen A, if everybody remembers Shonen A, very violent thing that happened. I think that kind of sparked what they called the Yutori Kyo Iku, where they really started relaxing on students. Because corporal punishment was part of the classroom. I don't know about you, Carl, but when I was in elementary school, if you were going to get spanked, they had to call your mom and she had to say yes, and then the principal did it. You got paddled in the principal's office. But in Japan, teachers would hit students right in the classroom. But after this, right about the time of that Shonen A incident, I think they realized that they needed to, let some pressure off, because they were probably worried about future revolts, about a return to 70s style bombings and things. Maybe
back in my day at that boarding school I went to, it was closed fist. If you
Did you go to Catholic school also? It was the sisters, wasn't it?
Well,
The nuns would be
the boarding school I went to, it was the priests, the male priests. In the grade school, it was Sister Mary Godzilla. Yeah.
Yeah.
So let me just confirm. So my knowledge of punishment in Catholic schools, which is quite famous, mostly comes from the movie The Blues Brothers.
Yeah.
So is that relatively
He lived
accurate?
it.
I love that scene. That's exactly the way it was.
Yeah. Sister Mary Elephant.
Yeah. I mean, it was. I don't know. I think I mentioned this. It was so bad in Catholic school that when I was a grade schooler, we went to this. I was going to St. Christina's school, and there was a priest. He was the pastor, Father Rebudo, and Father Rebudo put out this announcement to the school: girls were not allowed to wear patent leather shoes, because patent leather shoes create a mirror effect, so that somebody. That's so funny. One guy even wrote a book about it. Yeah.
You know, the iPhone, the click sound with the camera.
Yeah.
Japan's the only country where you can't mute that click sound.
Yeah.
Because people with their phones, nefariously at angles that you shouldn't in public.
Yeah.
Right. They wanted a report. That's why silencers are illegal, because the report of the gun is an announcement. Hey, there's been a gunshot. People ask me, why are silencers illegal? It's still a gun. I'm like, well, that report, that public announcement that, hey, somebody's taking funny pictures in the train, you better stop them.
Yeah. I've always wondered about that. Japan society, Japan trained, Japan men, I don't know who you want to pin it on, has this hentai reputation. Is that deserved? Is it true? Or I mean, I could imagine men being hentai in general, to tell you the truth. But is
then
Japan
again,
really that much
don't we
more?
hide it better? Like the guy sitting next to me reading this magazine that I wouldn't want anybody in the world to see me reading something like that, and right in public, turning pages, and it's a comic, but there's rape going on in this comic book. I wouldn't want people to see me reading something like that. No shame.
But then you've got I don't know how much we're allowed to say on YouTube, but you've got those no, not you. I'm talking about me. I'm trying to say something without while second guessing.
Don't want to get
because there's one word that begins with a P that it's supposed to be really verboten around here.
Okay.
As in Jeffrey Epstein. Yeah, and I mean that's going on now, and I mean, is it are Japanese men or Japanese people uniquely?
Well, the Puritans never had their imprint here, right? The Puritans are a very Amerocentric movement. That's why they were kicked out of Europe, right? Because the Puritans were against all the crazy things that the royalty was doing in Europe and in England, and how amoral Europe and England were, and so they were exiled to America. And that you can pretty much, I think MacArthur was a very Puritan type of a figure, wasn't he?
I don't know.
Those Puritan values followed the Americans after the occupation, right? I mean, you used to see boobies on TV in Japan.
Yes.
Right? Remember Jikandisyo, the bathhouse, and the samurai busting through the paper wall and the boobies, right? Okay. And then more and more foreigners working here. And you can imagine, my children, that's indecent. The complaints were coming from, I think, the foreigners, not the other Japanese people.
there used to be a TV show called Playgirl, and the Playgirls were like the Charlie's Angels group, women, female investigators, and they would go out and find these people doing bad things, and there the climax was always a big fight between the Playgirls and the bad people, and the Playgirls were always doing karate high kicks and stuff like that in mini skirts.
Yeah.
And they kick, and then they would always pause at the magic moment, and
they just
every
didn't
week
have those Puritan guidelines that we grew up with.
Yeah.
They wouldn't let Jim Morrison say she gets high, So.
Yeah. Whatever happened to those Puritan guidelines?
Well, they don't the things they don't allow in the bookstores now.
Yeah.
In Japan.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, but in America. But then again, maybe we should steer clear of this topic.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So speaking of hentai, our next topic is Valentine's Day.
Okay, nice segue. Great.
Happy Valentine's Day, guys. Yeah. Everything.
Thanks, Ed.
Did you guys get chocolates?
I've been here all day, so I might have gotten something, but I haven't seen it yet. So I didn't get anything.
Yeah.
My daughter shared a really fancy cake on my birthday, which was last week. So that was
happy birthday. Oh,
but you have to mention the girls are giving cakes to the guys here, and they gotta wait a month before the guys remember to give something to the girls. It seems a little bit sexist, right? Chauvinistic. I guess this comes back to Takaichi. Is Takaichi shattering glass ceilings? Is she going to change the chauvinistic nature of the Japanese society?
Who knows?
But I don't think Takaichi obviously is the first woman prime minister, but I don't think she has like a feminist agenda of she's in a way she's one of the guys. Not in any negative way, but
unless she's a sleeper cell.
I have no idea what that means.
Well, no, she may have been hiding her feminism obviously there are three women who are very visible in her cabinet, right? Touché.
But I don't think she's going to discount politicians because they're women, but I think she's more about the policies than DEI or empowering women or something like that.
Okay, talking about back to Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
Now in Japan, it's more about me, according to this story. Ta-da! And they're talking about the giri chako that everybody knows about, right? And that practice continues to decline. And the Mainichi Shimbun checked it out over at the department store. A record 65% of people buy things for themselves on Valentine's. Wow. Yeah, isn't that interesting? Self-gifting, when asked, 65% of the people. Wow. And the average budget for self-gifted chocolates reaching over 10,000 yen, which is it's a lot of money for chocolate, if you ask me.
Is this a post-corona phenomena? Is this an isolation? Is this because of the lockdowns and the masks and all that? I just wonder.
Well, corona definitely changed the world. I think there's no doubt about that. Here's another one that I found. Fewer women in Japan plan to give Valentine's Day chocolate as inflation bites.
Ah, there you go.
Yeah.
That hurts everything.
I think this is the one that was talking about the chocolate, if I'm not. Yeah. That giddy chocolate, the obligatory chocolate, I always thought that was so weird. Right?
Oh, by the way, Ed, Takashima Matsumoto was a fan of Playgirl, the TV show that you had mentioned.
Really?
Yes,
Okay.
he was tickled by
Pretty
your comment.
sexist. Pretty sexist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's get that up there. Playgirl. I never thought that you guys brought this up here. I often watched this program when I was an early teenager, hiding from my parents. There you go.
Wow.
Yeah, it was that kind of show. Yeah, they had Playgirl, and the 11 p.m. Remember 11 p.m., which is on the TV at 11 p.m. They
All
used to have a
children must
regular.
be in bed.
They used to have a regular striptease corner. Yeah.
All children must be in bed by that time. Yeah.
He probably was in bed, under the covers. Right?
There's a Japanese drama that I was watching on Netflix called "Futekisetsu ni mo hodo ga aru," which I think is in English, the title that they gave it is "Extremely Inappropriate," and it's kind of a spoof on Back to the Future, where this guy invents a time machine that's a city bus, and then they go back in time to the Showa era. And the whole program is kind of comparing and contrasting Showa, Japan, sort of various things, and modern
What is
Japan.
the name again of the show?
In Japanese, it's Futekisetsu ni mo hodo ga aru, which in English is translated as extremely inappropriate.
Okay.
And one of the things is like the late night TV show with the racy content. I think there was like a show like Tonight Too when I first came to Japan. That was one of those kinds of shows. Yeah.
Yeah. And Uwasa no Channel used to get pretty, the Destroyer, the pro wrestler Destroyer, and he was there with Wada Akiko. It was very popular, right? Somebody else mentioned something here. 11 p.m.
UFO?
UFO, right. UFO, I'm trying to place that. But also UFO, where all the women wore nets.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The fishing
culture. And Steve Martin says, Tamori used to be risque also, right?
Yeah. I used to watch a show called Super Jockey, where the women had to take a hot bath if they wanted some advertising time.
Oh, yeah.
And they had to take this hot bath in very revealing swimwear. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was Tensai Takeshi's show, if you remember that.
So now we're getting to the real reason why we're all staying in Japan, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Harenchi Gakuen. I don't know. I'm not familiar with that one. Yeah. And there was
talk about the fisherman culture. The women are good at it. They know how to catch a man. Yeah. and they know just how to slice him up once they got him.
Fillet him, right? Yeah.
With a sharp knife. I'm sure you've both been married, right?
Yes, I'm
still married. Yeah.
Never start an argument in the kitchen. There's too many sharp objects.
I learned a long time ago. Don't start an argument because I always lose.
Don't even go there.
Like I told somebody recently, 9 times out of 10, my wife is right, and that one
even
time
when she's wrong.
That 10th one, she'll never admit that she's right.
Okay. But I think you would all agree that everybody would agree, include the chats. When the economy starts to fail, then all these little problems start to surface. All these complaints and all of these loss of traditional, like buying chocolate and stuff. Oh, I can't afford it. And of course, domestic violence increases, arguments at home, broken homes. Getting this economy back in line would really help. All of this stuff about the shared name, marriage and stuff, forget that. Can we just fix this economy? Takaichi-san, please.
I think you just said economy is more important than other little things.
Once the economy is repaired, all of this other stuff kind of follows suit. Things kind of relax and things get better, right? People stop arguing about stupid stuff when the economy's better. I'm sure, Ed, you've seen quite the swings in Japanese economic conditions.
Yeah, especially the bubble, which was an aberration of economics, I think.
Did you guys feel, when they had the Lehman shock? I think that's like a Japanese name, right? The subprime loan financial crisis. I assume both of you guys were here in Japan at the time. Did you feel like that really impacted your business / your life? Or
I had to stop going to America as often because the prices in America just climbed out of control after that. Yeah. I would come back I used to 11 months in Japan, 1 month in America, 11 months in Japan, 1 month in America. I did that routine for decades because August in Japan I need to get back. Oregon's beautiful in August. Yeah. So, but then after Lehman shock, I would come back to Japan. My credit card would be in revolving for 2 or 3 months because the prices just climbed out of control. Why go back to America? I might as well stay here. Yeah. But as far as go ahead.
As far as
so the bubble, but then again, I guess my question is, although the bubble was an amazing aberration, there might have been a lot of, maybe that's when the hentai rolled in, because when people are making too much money, they start doing the wrong thing, right?
Yeah, the bubble was I mean, like crazy. I mean, the money was flying around everywhere. And after the bubble, everything shrank, but it was so big during the bubble that even after it shrank, it was still okay. It was still bad, So that's what was weird about it. Yeah. One guy told me, a Japanese friend, he was in real estate, and he told me that he was in a drinking place, like a cabaret club or something like that, where they hostesses. And he said he got out of his real estate when he was at this club, and he saw a guy sitting there throwing 10,000 yen notes in the air.
Yeah. 1849 in Japan.
Yeah.
Gold rush, I guess.
Yeah, it was cool in a way. And I'll tell you, at the time, nobody expected it would ever end.
Yeah.
Everybody thought that it would go on forever. Yeah. At that time, the value of Chiyoda Ward in Tokyo, the value of the land in Chiyoda was higher than the value of the land of the entire nation of Canada.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, that's how crazy it was. Yeah.
It does seem crazy.
London, you guys don't know that, do you? It used to be a TV commercial, a
cabaret what was it?
Called London Cabaret.
Oh, okay.
And they used to have these girls dancing, London. I'm sure Steve Martin will remember that. Yeah. Sorry about that. What is it? Gini gap between the working class and
that sounds like an economics jargon.
Yeah. The economy of Japan is doing fine. Yeah. Well,
early in your discussion, you were talking about the yen value, and I had this misconception that the low yen would be good for the economy, and it is as far as tourism. That's true, but Japan really doesn't make things anymore like they used to.
Not to the extent that they used to. Sure.
Well, one of my students works for a big name electronics company. I won't name the name. 30% of their expenses go to one American company, which I will name, Microsoft, and they have to pay them in dollars. And if the yen falls by 1 point, it's an extra $1 million a year of expenses for them. So there's and then so another student of mine who works for Osaka Institute of Technology we had discussion after discussion. Can these companies break free of the tyranny of Microsoft? Basically, no. Companies, if you really want to not have to rely on a company like Microsoft, you have to be in Silicon Valley where you have your own expertise.
And Japan's been trying to crack that particular nut for a long, long time, and they never are successful. For some reason, I don't know why. There's something about.
Does anybody remember the original competitor for Microsoft Word in Japan, Ichitaro?
I remember Ichitaro. Yeah.
So NEC had like this. I guess they had Windows, but it wasn't the same as. But there was like these other homegrown Japanese
I remember
Office, like what's that called? Productivity software. But it didn't automatically. It didn't break with the like it didn't automatically wrap. So like the word would break off in the middle of the word. It's because Japanese doesn't have the same rules about formatting that English does. So it's kind of a pain in the butt.
Microsoft isn't. Most of the problems I get when I get sent a document, it's because it was something Microsoft did. The Japanese have a term mojibake, where the document doesn't come through the way they thought it would, and they have to go back and reformat it. And
25 years ago, then whether it was like UTF-8 or like the encoding was like important and not automatic. Now, like nobody ever thinks about it because it always works.
Well, all the advancements are coming out of Silicon Valley, but that's another story. How do we get from chocolate to Silicon Valley? I don't know. That was my fault. That's my fault. Sorry.
We're getting close to the 2-hour mark.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing.
We were just having fun.
Yeah, so wrap up time. John, you want to say anything?
Can I get my thing at the bottom?
Yes, sorry about that.
David Cole.
David Cole.
For the great
sorry. All right.
I'm John. This is me. I have a channel. It's not as great as Ed's channel. Someday I'll be as great.
My puny channel.
And thank you. Sorry for my late joining, but it's great to be a part of this community. Thank you.
Great. All right. Carl?
Yeah, it was great chatting as always. I think there's room for improvement in terms of like, staying on one topic or another one. But
blame me.
It's the host. It's
for
the host.
The three of us.
Until I join.
It's fun talking with you guys, and then also the comments in the chat provide a nice stimulus to go off on tangents too. So keep the comments coming. So I enjoy.
One of these days, Ed will hire a moderator. When he
yeah,
starts making money.
After the 10,000 yen rolls in, maybe.
Yeah.
No, we're not.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, I told you.
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't know if you heard, John. I my first day of monetization, I made something like 11 cents. So. Oh yeah, I told you about that. Yeah, I want to say thank you to everybody. Especially Nyanya JP and Steve Martin. Thank you so much for your generosity and kindness. And I would also, before we wrap up, like to make an announcement. We only have 6 viewers left, so I hope this word will go out. I have a friend who I have been together with for a long, long time since our podcasting days. And he's been pushing me to do a once a week news segment, a Japan news roundup, besides this live stream. This live stream is a lot of fun, and I'm going to continue this as long as my heart keeps beating. So no guarantees on that, But also, I'm going to, from this week, Wednesday, I'm going to do another podcast on Wednesday night, and it's going to be a wrap up or a roundup of interesting and offbeat and strange Japanese news stories. And it's going to be probably going to be shorter than this one. I'm shooting for 30 minutes or 1 hour. It's going to be live, because doing a recording takes time and editing and stuff like that live. It just get out there, put it out there, make some comments, good night, and all that kind of thing. So if you've got nothing to do on Wednesday, please stop by and take a look and have some fun. And if you think that Wednesday evening, I'll do it again at 8 o'clock, I guess. If you would like a different day or a different time, let me know, and I'll certainly consider it. I've got a lot of free time, so I can shift it around. But this one, the one that we're doing now, will appear again next week on Wednesday or Saturday at 8 o'clock in the evening. Thanks a lot, John. Thanks a lot, Carl.
Thank you,
And
everyone.
thank you to all of
Thanks,
our
Carl.
wonderful,
Thanks, Ed.
our wonderful guys.
Thanks, guys.
And we'll see y'all
Good night.
next time. Okay, good night. All right.
Oyasumi nasai.
Sorry if somebody wanted to go to bed early today, but